Whereas you and I are not surprised, I think middle America, the most populous part of America, is going to be surprised. And yes, that is future tense. They are not quite there yet. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the dastardly deeds that this hijacked imposter administration is doing in the White House of our country. Well, first of all, he's destroying it. I think you and I are surprised despite the fact that nothing should surprise us anymore. But I will say, you and I are like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. Like this, everything we think that could never get worse gets worse, right? But middle America, this is important for you to understand, right? So I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic medium. I predict politics, but I also teach spiritual classes, and I have a whole spiritual online community with a separate political online community that is safe, that is not on Meta, not on YouTube, completely in a separate platform that is safe. Please join us over there, right? Where, again, it is safe. You can speak your mind. You don't have to worry about being put on a list. You don't have to worry about someone figuring out who you are and calling your boss. You can find out more about that at susanlynnmedium.com. Anyway, we're talking about the White House. We're talking about them tearing down the East Room of the White House, the East Wing of the White House. That was where the president's wife, well, I guess if we had Kamala Harris, as we really did, he did not win. This was rigged. He was shot, not, he was never shot. All this is us allowing him to lie to us and to accept it and try to make excuses for him. You and I are way beyond that point, but we're talking about middle America who's still watching CNN, who's still watching Fox News, who are not covering the destruction of the East Wing of the White House because they were told not to, because we have it that government employees were told not to tell anybody this was happening, as if you couldn't see it from a satellite in space. That's how big of a deal this is, right? So, why is this happening and why am I even talking about it? Well, I want to tell you this has a much bigger energy than you might imagine. And that's why it's important because don't you know people that maybe were in a terrible relationship, maybe an abusive relationship, maybe in a abusive job or whatever it was. They were in that relationship, that job, that situation for way so long that you ever decided I'm never going to convince them otherwise. I just give up. That's they're going to figure it out or they don't. Guess what? That's what America is right now. We're in an abusive relationship with a guy that stole our government and the people who are enabling him, right? The people who are enabling him, let's talk about that, right? There are actual companies that have pledged money to this rehabilitation or this destruction of the East Wing. You can Google it, you can find them. Real companies that you and I use every day. Okay. They're enablers. Congress is an enabler, but so is our media. All these things are enabling him to do the dastardly deeds that he is doing. But there are also millions of Americans that are still enabling him. These are the MAGAs. These are the people who refuse to believe that it's really happening or make up excuses for why it's happening or believe that it's whatever the bad thing is, it's going to happen to someone else and not them. What I want to tell you today is, which could be surprising to you, is that, and it was surprising to me, is that the White House has this larger than life energy within Americans' ideals, within our histories, within our heart and soul. It's on our money. It's a big deal. It's something that we thought would never change. It's something that we thought like the sun coming up and going down would just happen and we didn't have to worry about it. Well, guess what? Now we have to worry about things we never thought would change. And this is one of those situations that can pierce the armor, pierce the blocked, ability for these people to see the truth. Tearing down the East Wing of the White House is possibly going to help us get further along than even, I hate to say it, but cancellation of SNAP or increase on our insurance. It's just I can't describe it, you guys, but energetically, it's a very big deal. Now, it's interesting to me. If you don't understand this, I get it because I didn't understand it either. Because I actually spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C., right? Like my ex's family for 20 years was in the Washington, D.C. area. I went there 2, 3 times a year, drove past the White House. I never had any desire to take a tour of the White House for whatever reason, right? Like I'm not saying it's not beautiful. I'm not saying people shouldn't tour it. I'm not saying it's not worthy of touring. I'm just saying for me personally, I never was attracted to that. Yet despite the fact that I was never attracted to that, this has hit me hard. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. You don't have to share the same ideals or the same kind of passion for something to still understand, wow, I that's a lot. Like that shouldn't happen. That actually makes me feel some kind of way. Well, guess what? If it's making me feel some kind of way and I'm not particularly, you know, into the White House as whatever reason, it's going to make MAGAs feel super kind of way because they are the people who want to go back to the past. They want to go back to those presidents back in the Civil War, before the Civil War, right? They want that. They actually want to go back to the founding of our country. This is a big deal for them, you guys. This is going to move the needle, is what the guides are saying. There's going to be a cry of pain from people in middle America that are not paying attention. And you want to know what? That's why they don't want CNN covering it. That's why they don't want Fox News covering it. That's why they're trying to keep it a secret because they weren't supposed to do this much damage. They were supposed to just do some cosmetic, you know, sort of changes to accept this new building or whatever it is, but instead they're digging into the walls. They're literally tearing it down. And the East Wing is where the presidential wives would stay. Or if we had had Kamala Harris, as I began to say, maybe the first husband would have stayed there. But, it's also a knock towards women, is it not? What is the least valuable part of the White House? Well, it would be where the women have their offices. That's where the least valuable part would be. We can't explain this away anymore. We cannot. It's at our own peril, the spirit guides are saying. It's at our own peril to not take this seriously, right? So I am not a person who's been on here saying, everything's going to be great, everything's going to be wonderful. I'm on here saying we're going to get through this. We're going to make it to the other side. We're not going to be the same people that we were, right? That said that from the very beginning. We're going to change. We're going to metamorphosize. We're going to transform. We're not going to be the same people. So that's painful. That's hard. That's very hard, but it's necessary. It is interesting that the White House was built by slave labor. And you also can draw a parallel to some of the plantations in the South burning down or being destroyed. It's almost as if the ancestors are saying, enough. We're going to wipe the slate clean. You can't fix this. We're going to help you fix this. And we're going to level the whole thing so that you can maybe atone for your sins, and figure out what you did right and what you're still doing wrong and move on with a clean slate. This is what this feels like to me. It feels like we have to see this. We have to acknowledge this. And it's not black and white, right? Because the White House, there was a lot of good that happened there. There was a lot of good that happened there. But the problem with our situation is we're going all the way back to the beginning. We're going back to the beginning, the founding of our country, and the wounds that were created during the founding of our country. This is what this is all about. Racism, classism, slavery, check, check, check. We are there once again. We're going back to the beginning to say, this was wrong. We'll keep this. We'll change that. If we don't look at these things, if we don't have a dialogue, if we don't make our voices heard the way 7+ 8 million of us did over No King's Day, then we're not doing the lesson, and we'll get more lessons. We don't want to enable this lesson. We want to meet it head on and work it out. So that's interesting to me. It's very interesting to me that this could be almost the straw that broke the camel's back. And I hesitate because there are so many straws, right? I mean, there's housing funds, there's SNAP funds, there's healthcare is going through the roof. There's arbitrary decisions by the government to not fund certain states. It's really a war. And I think the faster we just acknowledge that, and we, and we 8 million of us marched, right? But when I say we, again, I'm talking about governors, I'm talking about attorneys general, I'm talking about mayors, police chiefs, I'm talking about those people. These truly are our last line of defense here, right? And they need to stand up for their state's people, or the people will rise up. And this is where we are. We're on the edge, frankly. We marched 8 million people. Some estimates have it over 7 million to 8 million. We marched peacefully. This was a shot across the bow. This was a, please hear us, please see us. We're activated, we're ready. You don't want this to go a different direction. Have they ever listened? No. Do they truly believe that anybody could stop them? No. Are they full of their own hubris? Yes. So, no, they're not going to listen. But who might listen are the robber barons. Because, as we told you guys, there's a few things that are starting to come true. And again, I'm not enjoying, frankly, these things coming true, because when I predict them, I have no emotion. Like right now, I have no emotion because I'm channeling. But later, I'm going to be the full 100% human Susan, and it's not fun. It's painful, right? So I did predict. The spirit guides did predict SNAP benefits would be removed or limited. Remember back when everybody was freaking out about Social Security? Do you remember? Remember that? I said, so security is not going to be limited. You guys were so worried about Social Security. I said, it's SNAP. SNAP is what they're going to take away. What did they do? They just took away SNAP. I did a video where I talked about the White House being damaged. Here we are. The White House is being damaged. Okay, these things are starting to coalesce. The things that I've seen are starting to coalesce. I'm not going to be right all the time. I am not going to be right all the time. I'm not even going to be right 90% of the time. That's the frustrating part of it. But what I do is I make the prediction, and then I watch what happens in the 3D on the timeline that the humans that have free will choose. We chose 7, 8 million of us to march. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny that, people. Add that to these horrible things that are happening with school lunches, with SNAP, with housing, with prices are insane, with healthcare costs going up, with jobs disappearing, with the attacks on our citizens that are not white. You guys, this is a pressure cooker. Something's going to snap. Something's going to give. And what I have seen is that, and you know what they just showed me? Do you remember, longtime viewers? Hey, I see you and I thank you and I'm grateful for you. Do you remember when I said Biden kept his hand on the pot, the pressure cooker? The pot was rattling and rattling and rattling, and he kept his hand on it. He was like, not blowing on my watch. Well, he did. He kept his hand on it. We got through his administration with, arguably, even though prices were high, the best economy in the world, and obviously a much better lifestyle in general, all across all indicators, than we are experiencing now. Well, now that bubbling pot, well, the guy that should have his hand on it is over there eating hamburgers and French fries and spreading ketchup on the wall, and approving AI videos of him dropping caca on his, I mean, very unserious, right? So who's going to keep the pot from blowing? Who's going to keep this from all blowing up in their faces? You want to talk about caca. you know, shite hitting the fan, right? This is what we're about to get. So as I'm looking at this energy, and I have to say, one of the things I was wrong about last year was I felt like the robber barons would not let a despot tell them what to do. And I thought the robber barons would be our last line of defense, right? Because Congress is captured, the Supreme Court is captured, some of the courts are captured, certainly the White House is captured. I thought, okay, the robber barons are not going to lose money. Like money is God to them, right? They're not going to lose money because of this de facto dictator. I was wrong because here's what happened. And I've talked about this before, so not the first time. These robber barons are used to dealing with dictators. They go to these countries where there's a dictator and they prefer it because you pay off a dictator and it's done. You make a deal and you know what the deal is and it's done. Guess what? In the United States of America, you have to make a deal with 10 Republicans, 2 Democrats, then you have to make some deals with some judges, and then you have to make a deal with the president. And then maybe if all those things, if you can get all those people paid off and talking to each other, then you can have what you want. It's much harder for them. It costs more money, it takes longer, and it's harder. So guess what? They like despots. That blew my mind. When I figured that out, it blew my mind. I remember thinking about Boeing and thinking, this guy just tanked Boeing. Is Boeing going to put up with this? Like, are they just going to let this guy like take all their money and make their stock crash? Yeah, they just got some money in some satchels and took it to the White House. They fixed that problem, right? So it's really about who buys off, the king. And we see this in the White House destruction. As I said, there's a list of companies that have put money towards this. And some of them are companies that I'm using right now. And I don't know how to divest myself of them. They're so invasive, so pervasive that you can't just cut them out of your life. But we go back to the boiling pot. We're going to have enough. We're going to have had enough. And we're going to not care anymore because we realize that there isn't anybody else but us. 7, 8 million of you decided that. Now, how is that going to manifest? Well, another prediction that I made last year was that people would stop buying things. I got to tell you, honestly, I'm just 40% Susan right now, but the 40% Susan is has anxiety. The guides are like, our human is experiencing anxiety. Yes, I am. They don't really, I mean, they're just, this is like, they don't care necessarily. They're just like stating the obvious, like my car is overheating. Okay, I'll keep driving another 1,000 miles because whatever. Exactly. Oh, I like that metaphor. Anyway, why do I have anxiety? Because capitalism is our money. I talked about this in the last video, right? Like we're human shields for the robber barons because our money is invested in the stock market. Our lives depend on jobs. Our jobs come from them. If we stop buying things, then our jobs go away. It really is kind of like this scenario of Americans might have to cut their arm off to get out of the bear trap. Like we might have to literally sacrifice something. And we've talked about that, right? They're reminding me every video I come on, I talk about sacrifice. I talk about unions and I talk about when, my dad was on strike, we didn't have food. There was no money coming into the house. My dad was a single parent, no extra money, period, coming in the house. So that was a sacrifice that he felt was important. And he instilled that in his kids. Even though we had no food or no money, he wasn't going to let me cross a picket line ever. So even when he was working, if the grocery store was picketing, you better believe that I didn't ride my bike to go get a loaf of bread at that grocery store. You better believe that if I had to go an extra 3 miles on my little bike, that's what was going to happen. So he instilled in me this sense of sometimes I have to sacrifice for the better of the whole group, for the whole community, for the whole company, for the whole union, for all the workers. This is where we are, you guys. And I don't think, let me rephrase that. They're showing me too many things at once. I'm starting to see on, you're going to see it too. Forewarned is forearmed. I would like for you to just think about this a lot before you maybe have an opinion, because your opinion might be different than mine. That's fine. But I would encourage you to spend some time thinking about it. Okay. Because this is a big deal. You're starting to see online, a lot of people with big accounts are starting to call for a national strike. And that's exactly what I saw, right? We're not buying things, except for that in my vision, no one told us to not buy anything. We just weren't buying anything. Now, some of that was because we didn't have any money. Some of that was, I don't know how to divest myself of all the companies that are destroying the White House. So therefore, I'm just going to go cold turkey. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to throw it all out, because I don't know how to solve this problem. And I don't want to be connected to such dastardliness. It's becoming a moral issue. And you can't quibble over somebody's morals. Once you have disgusted somebody, it's over. Can't get past disgust. And we're getting towards disgust with some of these companies. And what does that mean? It means that, let's just say, maybe AT&T or some company is donating money to destroying the East Wing of our White House, the People's House. And let's say that you have been that customer of that company for 40 years, 20 years, 5 years. Well, you might just go out and get a flip phone. That's your sacrifice, because you're disgusted. All of a sudden, this is very important what they're telling me. All of a sudden, the brand disgusts you. Imagine that. Just think about that for a second. Imagine being disgusted by a brand. Now, I got to tell you, I boycott some brands. Like, I've been boycotting Chick-fil-A for 10 freaking years because of their stances against LGBTQ. There was a time when I was a real big Hobby Lobby shopper, because I had a photography studio, and guess what? I needed props, and guess who had them? Hobby Lobby. Well, I started boycotting them too, because I didn't like their stance against LGBTQ and frankly everything else in the world. So yeah, I let my dollars do the talking. But that wasn't disgust. I wasn't disgusted with them. I was just miffed at them. I was upset with them. I was, and I don't want, I'm just not gonna do it. Some of you are doing this with Target, me too, right? You guys, disgust is a whole nother level. Can't come back from disgust. So this is going to really impact our economy. Now, what I think is going to happen is that these brands, even though they would rather deal with a dictator, and this has been the same energy they've said from the very beginning. This, what I'm about to tell you, has not changed. If it does change, it changes. I'm happy to change it. Humans are wily. They have free will. There is no black and white here. But this energy continues to stay the same. As long as it stays the same, I'm going to stay with it. The energy is that these robber barons start to realize, because I'm going to tell you right now, our phones are listening to us. We know that. We say something and all of a sudden we get ads for it. They have the most sophisticated marketing information, culling information of any country in the world. The United States has. That's what my guides just said. They're starting to see the disgust. They're starting to see, believe me, the No King's Day was a big wake-up call for them, because they're like, these people are not shopping yet, they're in the streets. Doesn't take a genius to put those two things together, right? They are passionate. They're not depressed. They're not hiding out. They're in the streets. They're ready to take action. So the energy suggests that these robber barons wake up literally at the last minute and make a deal. This is the energy that I've never changed. They make a deal with some sort of very conservative Democrat. Maybe it's, and I'm going to say Jeffries is conservative, because he is. I mean, I think he is. So that's just my opinion. But let's say that it's even more conservative. I don't know who that would be at this point, right? And they make a deal. And also Jeffries is the leader, so he would be someone to make a deal with. And you have this sense of it's for your own good, right? Like make a deal with your abuser because it's for your own good. Like you don't really have a lot of power here. So you need to make a deal with the abuser. That's what gets us out of this, right? We make a deal with the abuser, which again, the 40% of Susan, this really makes her mad. And all of it makes me mad. It's hard to do these videos because I'm in pain about what is happening. But when I do the videos, I'm channeling, so it's unemotional. So it's a very strange situation. But they're going to make a deal. It's like, okay, so the guys just said it's just like the Congress being closed. I think it's going to be open by the end of the month. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I feel like when I ask the guides, I ask them again, I see Halloween, November 1st. I mean, it's basically the end of the month. Now, it could happen sooner, but I don't think so because I don't think the Republicans are in enough pain yet. Pain is a fantastic motivator, right? Disgust. We're disgusted with you. I'm telling you, there's no coming back from disgust. It's got to be the lowest of the low of like the energies, right? The expressions, the emotions. So they make a deal. And the Democrats say we had to make a deal. And this is what I saw with Congress is that we do get Congress back in power, back in working, environment, but we don't get everything we want. We do give up some things around healthcare. There is a capitulation, the spirit guides say, and it's very much like, come on, Democrats, you don't have any power here. Why are you acting like this? You really need to sit down and be reasonable. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear that from the media. Be reasonable. Let's make a deal. And they're going to capitulate. They're going to give in. They're not going to give in all the way. They're not going to give in all the way. They're just going to give in about 10 to 20% that they didn't have to do. But again, it's a pain point for the Democrats too. We all need to get on with our business, right? So that's a deal that's made within Congress. Now, this other deal is much different in the sense that it's the robber barons, meaning the corporations. They go to the Democrats, not AOC, obviously, not Jasmine Crockett, obviously, but Jeffries, Pelosi, Schumer. They go to those Democrats and they say, we want to make a deal with you, right? It's almost like the guides are showing me a hostage situation where I literally the hostages are us, but it is very much feels like a hostage situation. We'll release the hostages, but you need to do these things for us. A deal is struck. So there's this energy of deals being struck under duress. Okay. So the deal is made. The deal is made. What does that mean? I think that means that the deal could not be made if 45, the Orange Fuhrer Mad King, was still in office because he doesn't allow deals. He's the only deal maker. So you have to already understand that to get to that point, he's not there. He's either 25th Amendmented out, he's fled, or he's in the great makeup counter in the sky getting really bad makeup done, right? He's in one of those places. And he's out of direct line of power. So that says to me that he could be 25th Amendmented, or he could be sick, he could be fled. It doesn't necessarily mean he's dead. It just means he's removed. Spirit doesn't care how you remove things. You know what I mean? As long as it's no longer impacting the energy stream, it doesn't matter. So now that's gone. Then you have Vance. Vance is incredibly inept, is what the guides just said. He's at least 45 knows what he wants. He's a crook. He's a criminal for entertainment purposes only. But he knows what he wants. Vance is vacuous, is like just God, he's really smart, but there's something disconnected in there. They said he's given away his power. So he's a mouthpiece. It's almost like he's had a lobotomy. And he's a mouthpiece now. So he goes to his boss. What do you want me to say, boss? What do you want me to say? Okay, da 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 da. What do you want me to say? Da 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 da. He's parroting. He's parroting the information. So we have Vance in. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this timeline. And I'm going to take a long freaking vacation. Anyway, we get him in because as I've said all along, nobody respects him, nobody likes him, and nobody is afraid of him. The most important thing, no one is afraid of him. They're not afraid of his boss. They're not afraid of him. That's why we have pandemonium. That's why we have deals being made. That's why we have a power vacuum. Remember all the things I've told you. If you guys have been watching me for a while, this stuff is falling into place. It really is. I feel confident about the predictions. I don't feel confident about the pain they're causing. But anyway, the economy is saved by the bell at the last minute because of this deal, because we capitulate. They capitulate a little bit. They do capitulate a little bit. They know they have to bring something to the table. They're bringing the hostages to the table. So they're bringing maybe a little bit of taxes or a little bit of jobs back. It's sacrimony. Is that the right word? Sacrimonious. Is that the right word? It's almost sacrilegious. It's like what is the word for when it's hubris, right? Like they're like, look what I did for you. And then they give you this tiny little thing that you had yourself. They stole it from you, but they're giving it back to you and it's broken. And they're like, here you go. So the economy, because I'm telling you, this stuff upsets me so much, because we're enablers, because people need to go back to work, because people need to have normalcy, because people need to believe in democracy. People need to believe in the foundation of our country. The White House is being destroyed before their very eyes. All of a sudden, somebody needs to bring some security back to the American people post haste, because this is dangerous. This is also a power vacuum. Power vacuums are bad. This is when you have coups. This is when you have overthrown situations. It's not good. There's not a good place. Okay. This is where you have a civil WAR, right? This is the energy, the astrological energy we're in, is all of those things. The astrological energy supports all of those things, but it can manifest in many different ways. Okay. Many, many different ways. What I see happening is, because I see us getting through this. The guide said, you'll get through this, but not without harm. Okay. Again, we're going to get through it, but not without harm. And when I say harm, our psyches are damaged. I just saw a video where this woman's nonverbal autistic son, her state, New Jersey, sent her a letter and said, your son is now on a list and you have 5 days to respond, and we'll take your son's name off, but his data will remain. Y'all, she got the letter 5 days after the postmark, thereby missing the deadline to have her son be anonymous. Now her son's name is associated with health condition. For what reason? Harm has been done, right? All the people that have been kidnapped, harm has been done. It's just harm has been done. I'm not going to sugarcoat that we're living it. It's horrible, but we will get through it. And it's just like the picture they've always shown me, which is, because I've lived through this, right? Like some of you have lived through this, where your community was hit with a natural disaster and you lost everything and you had to rebuild. And you have rebuilding communities. You have groups that, if you have a good city government, because that's another form of enabling, if we're not involved in our city government, we actually had groups that got together and said, do we want buildings over 3 stories? Because why? Because it casts a shadow on the neighborhood. This is what I'm saying. We're going to be involved in a rebuilding. In the end, it's for the better. We're scouring these deplorables, this racist people. We've allowed them to come out into the open so we could see the horrors and be disgusted by them and then take action. This was our lesson. This is why this is all happening. We have to see it to know that we have a problem. We can't take action if we don't realize what the problem is. And instead, we enable it. This is why all this is happening. So I feel like there's going to be a deal made, and I feel like the economy is going to be saved. But I feel like it's not real. I feel like it's still inflated. I feel like it's still a bubble. I feel like it's not real. I feel like they're covering it up. So a deal is made. Congress and the robber barons, they make JD president. Everybody says, go home and be happy, have a good holiday, have a good 2026, crisis averted. Everything is fine. And you know what? The thing that irritates me is there's going to be a whole big group of people that are going to want to believe that because they want to believe it. Magical thinking. And they're going to go ahead and do their thing. They're going to act like it's fine. You and I are not going to do that because for one thing, we feel energy and we have better discernment and we're like, something ain't right. This is better, but something isn't right. It's almost as if we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's what the feeling feels like in 2026 with JD Vance as president. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We know this is a continuation in a new way of the wizard behind the curtain manipulating everything. Because what I've always seen is JD Vance buying his time. Like he's going to do dastardly things because that's who he is. And he's going to think he has all that power. See, that's the fun. That is fun. Okay, I like that. That made me happy for a minute. He's over there flexing his muscles. He's over there King Kong hanging off of the building. And Congress is like, we don't like you. Sit down, sir, and shut up. We're Congress and we will impeach you. And we have enough votes that you can't even veto what we're doing. Sit down and shut up. Right? Congress takes the power back with this fealty, the word, I don't know why I'm getting fealty, and I see Chuck Schumer as sort of like this fealty to this contract that was signed, right? Like, okay, we're going to take it easy on these robber barons, and what they're going to do is they're going to help us get rid of this despot. That's the trade. Then JD gets in thinking all along it was his anyway, because we all know that, right? We all knew that from the very beginning that Trump did not pick this man. This man was foisted upon him. So JD gets in, beats his chest. He's like, I am king. And they're like, sit down, son. We got things to do, right? So I'm a little worried about 2026 in the sense that I feel like there's still a shoe to drop. It's still inflated. That we have not addressed the economic problems that were created under the Mad King. They're almost put in the, well, look, we'll deal with that later, right? Like we gotta deal with what's in front of us right now. We'll deal with that later. That's what I hear. So kicking the can down the road, which the guides just said, is what happens every time, right? How many Democrats come in and clean up the mess, right? That's what happens. But here's the thing. I don't think that JD stays in office long because the people are restless. The White House is damaged. I did a whole video. There's a whole video that I did months ago saying the White House was going to be damaged, and I said the president would be staying or doing work at Camp David. This is happening, and I think the people are like, no, this is not. They don't feel settled. It's really well known now that our country is under attack. And despite the fact that the economy sort of reorganizes itself or resurges, the bubble is that we're not buying anything. And some of that is people wanting a national strike or encouraging a national strike which I would be very careful doing on social media because I think those people are at risk for disappearing. And this is not, this is not me joking whatsoever. This is not a time where we are all safe. Okay. This is not a time where we are safe. So, and if they think that you're doing something that's going to really harm them, well, guess what? They are greater than you. So I would not personally encourage that. I'm telling you, people are going to do it whether you ask them to or not because they're disgusted. I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted with everything, literally. And when you're disgusted, look at my face. When you're disgusted, you're nauseous. You don't want to eat. You don't want to partake in those things. So it's a sickness. The guides keep calling it like some kind of illness. The humans are depressed. We don't want to buy into the game anymore. We're going to be crafting. We're going to be making things. We're going to buy things from people who make things. We're going to buy things from people who have knowledge to help us. We're going to buy from people like us. We're not going to buy from corporations. And I don't see that being fixed very easily. I mean, there's going to always be a subset of us that are enablers, that are enamored with the celebrity or enamored with those sneakers or enamored with that, whatever it is, whatever the car, whatever it is. There's always going to be a subset. But that is a smaller subset than ever before. And they're going to try to reach us, and they can't because we're not meaning to do it. It's just we can't help ourselves. We don't have the appetite. You can't make somebody eat that doesn't have an appetite. That's going to affect the economy. Even though they tell us it's great, we're like, it's not so great. But in the end, we're going to do okay because we're going to help each other. That's how we're going to get through this. We're going to give to food banks. We're going to go get food when we need it. That's the synergy. That is everything that this world is created on. Everything is created on giving and receiving. When you get out of balance, it doesn't work. That's where we are. They're all takers. They're not giving anything. That's why it's broken. So within your community, within your self, participate in the giving and the receiving. If we all participated in the giving and receiving, or 7 million of us, or even 3 million of us, we would change the energy over the entire country. It would catch on like wildfire. We would realize I don't need that corporation. This guy on the corner changed my oil. This person over here has yard eggs. This person over here knows how to mend my suit, my jacket. This person fixed my shoes. I don't even know how. I didn't even know you could do that anymore, right? I met a person who this is so bizarre, but the guides are telling me to say this. I met a person recently who is a like a professional Goodwill shopper, literally a professional. And she made some really interesting points. She said the items I get from Goodwill have leather soles. I mean, you can repair the quality clothes. The guides are telling me fast fashion. You might not be familiar with that term, but fast fashion, disposable clothes from Temu. I can just order a dress, I can order a jacket, and I can just throw it away because they're so cheap. I can just throw it away. That's over. That's changing. We're going to be looking for goods that we can repair, goods that we can continue to keep working longer. And we're going to be looking for people in our community to help us do that. That's where we're going. We're not going to a totalitarian fascist regime because we're too big to do that to. Hence, 8 million people peacefully protesting. The robber barons are going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal, a couple of deals. And that's how we're going to get out of this. But for the love of God, let it not be for naught. Let's not forget our lessons. Let's not push all this under the rug and move on. We cannot let that happen. And frankly, the ruination, the visual reminder of the East Wing of the White House should be our visual reminder of just how bad it got. This is why we have the Holocaust Museum. This is why we have these things. And this is why this administration has tried to get rid of Black History museums, Black History Month. Recently, they scrubbed Colin Powell out of any mention of his service. They're erasing their bad deeds. What I'm asking you is to not let them do this, that on the other side of this, when we get to the other side of this, we need a truth council. And I see it happening. And I want us to be involved in it. I want us to be watching it. I want us to be pushing for it. But to get there, we have to take care of ourselves. We can't get burned out. We can't give up. If you give up, we need you. So take really good care of yourself. We're going to get through this. You, me, 8 million of us, plus more. These protests aren't going to stop. But we do need some R&R. We can't be on the front lines of the war 24/7. We can't. That's not how you continue to have a capable warrior. And we need our capable warriors. So take your time out. Let others jump in. And then when they need time out, you jump in. This is not going to be over today. It's not going to be over at the end of October or the end of this year, because we have to deal with Vance. This is going to take some time, but they are listening to us. We know that we have an impact. We know that because, well, after the No Kings protest, he came out with all his AI videos. We know it made a really hurt his feelings that there was 8 million people marching and his little rinky-dink inauguration got nothing. We are making an impact. Never doubt that. Take really good care of yourself. Give and receive. Keep this energy going. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I will be back. I'll be riding shotgun with you through hell. And like I said, we'll get through it together. In the meantime, I do have that community and it is safe. And I am thinking about doing videos over there because it is not safe for me out here. And it's going to continue to be less safe because as we get into normalcy, quote unquote, they're going to force normalcy. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're going to force everyone to say everything is better. Kumbaya. We're one big happy family. So if you're saying something other than that, you're going to be a target, right? So I have this online community that have a free one. Listen, I have to pay for this. This is not free for me. It's not a Facebook group. Facebook is free. That's why they harvest your data. That's why you have to put up with trolls. This is not free for me. This costs me a lot of money. It's private. But I do offer a free community for you because I know not everybody can afford communities. My paid community is only $12 a month. I am there 6 hours a month or more with you. Not only that, but you are there. Many thousands of you are there sharing, supporting each other. As I said, I have a completely separate democracy dialogue part that is just politics, and I have a separate part that is more spiritual or personal, whatever. It's just not politics. Both of those communities come with this bigger community for $12 a month, where I'm doing readings for you. I'm doing Soul Growth Sunday, where my spirit guides participate with you and me in giving us questions to pull cards and to journal and to understand ourselves. We've been doing this for years. I can tell you that people have changed their lives due to these programs. $12 a month. If you feel like joining us, you can. SusanLynnMedium.com. I do have my in-person event in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Technically, I'm still selling tickets, but honestly, I'm really close to the hotel's capacity. So I don't really know how many more spots I would have open for that, but it's in Santa Fe, New Mexico this November. And also, I do classes. So if you'll just go to my website, susanlynmedium.com, you can sign up for the newsletter, which happens once a month, if that, and you'll know when I have things happening, right? Because nothing is guaranteed, nothing is permanent. I don't know how long this YouTube channel will be functional or allowed. I don't know that. That's why my spirit guides had me create the community. Don't forget, I have a separate YouTube channel where I do spiritual videos, not woo woo, let's all sing and meditate. No, I'm a problem solver. I'm a grounded person. That's not my way of interpreting the spiritual messages. It's very like what you're seeing. If you've got this problem, this is how you raise your vibration. If it's very much the way I do my political videos, but they're spiritual. Again, the guides are like, get as many things off of this political channel as you can, because we can't guarantee, Susan, that you're going to be on here. I hope I am. I hope that I am. I would love to reach 100,000 subscribers. That would be really cool. But we'll see, right? In the meantime, I'm doing the best I can over here as well. All right. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. Truly, I do. Let me know your comments, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time. For entertainment purposes only,